Greetings. I'm over at the home of Jeff Spring on 2003 Manning Place in Lagrange, Kentucky. I've been hired by the roofing contractor for this homeowner to come out and do a repairability test video. This is for an Allstate claim. Again, it's for Jeff Spring at 2003 Manning Place in Lagrange, Kentucky. This is the house, the dwelling where there's some wind damage. It may be hard to see, but up here there is a shingle. It looks darker than all the rest, and what that is a shingle that's been partially blown away. So I'm gonna go up on the roof. We're gonna demonstrate the tools that we're using and show what happens, what's the outcome of a shingle repair on this property. This little device that I've mounted up to the roof, I've just put a fastener in there. What that is a little tripod just to help me hold the camera while I'm doing the work and narrating the work. Over here you'll see the top of my goat that's over the ridge there to help me for safety purposes. So to the best that I can, because I'm having to hold this camera or my phone or whatever, a lot of times I'll accidentally hit the screen or cause it to pause. That's not intentional. I'm going to try to keep the video rolling throughout the whole process, just so you have continuity of everything from start to finish. So I'm going to zoom back out here, and what I'm going to do now is we're going to go ahead and head around and head up the ladder. Probably not the safest thing to do to climb a ladder and a steep roof while holding a phone with video rolling, but again, let's see what we can do. Just some overall condition issues here. There's an add-on to the house that was done sometime in recent history where there's a laminate roof. This is the original roof for the house. It's a 3-tab. It's pretty faded. There's markings and things like that in the roof. You see here, I don't know if they've had any hail in the area or not. All right, but with that in mind, let's try to get on this roof as safely as possible. I'm gonna switch hands and grab the goat. I'll move this over here. Make sure that the camera is still rolling. It is. Okay, that's good. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the goat on the upper ridge, because I've already put a couple items up there in preparation for the video. All right, so we're up on top of the house. That's the valley I traveled up. Here's the shingle that has the damage, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple things. First off here, probably the first thing to keep in mind is that this shingle doesn't match the surrounding shingles. Pretty much lets me know that they've had wind damage in this exact spot before. And what's happened is that the replacement shingle never adhered to the glue strip through here. And this is a common problem with repair attempts. Even if the roofer uses some sort of adhesive or something like that in the background, they're not, or during the repair, they're not going to squirt a whole line of adhesive there, because that's just not how roofers normally do it. They're counting on the original adhesive to try to bond in place. But anyway, So this shingle, the replacement shingle never actually bonded to the roof, and over time it got wind, and so this tab went missing altogether. This tab was laying here, sort of folded over. You can see sort of like a coloration change in the shingle over here, where it's been like that for a little bit of time, who knows how long. And then the other tab over here is also got a crease line in it from flapping in the wind. So the other thing I want to point out from a condition standpoint is that when replacing one shingle, what has to happen is, and by the way, these are bonded, so these did glue back in place. What has to happen is you have to remove the fasteners here, here, and here, and a lot of times there'll be one out on the edge on one side or the other. You have to remove those fasteners, but then there's a second row of fasteners up higher. So what we have to do is we have to break this row of shingles loose. When I say break, what I mean is gently try to get them unglued so that we can manipulate the shingle to get up under there and pull out the fasteners. We have to do that for this row of shingles as well as the next row up. So what I'm going to do is, gosh, everything is, I'm in a really steep, bad spot here to try to hold cameras and tools and do everything at one time. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a couple marks here. This is the bad row of shingles that's here. Okay, this is the one that we're replacing. Then what we're going to do is we're going to label the rows above it. So why don't we call this row number 1 and row number 2? So when I'm talking about things, we'll say 1 and 2, so that when I'm talking about the shingles, I can refer to them as row 1 or 2. The other thing I'll show you here too, this is probably from the original repair, but this shingle over here, this is row number 2, there is some sort of a perforation here, but it doesn't look like wind damage. It looks like when the shingle got lifted before, it was probably a little bit brittle and had an accident there. This shingle, the middle one here, I don't really see any damage on it. And then this shingle has a slight little bit of a crease on it. The shingles below on row 1, this one appears to be in perfect condition. This one here has a slight bit of crease in it. And then this one here also has a slight bit of crease in it here and here. I'm trying to zoom in kind of close here so you can kind of see that. All right. So this is row number 1. There's a little bit of a marking right there in that thing. Based on the age of this roof, I predict that we're going to end up with some pretty substantial creasing along here and here. We're going to probably see a lot of damage going on that looks like wind damage. The other thing is, I don't know how strongly these shingles are bonded down. They are still glued down. So when we go to separate those, this one's loose on the corner here. It's glued here though. When we go to separate those, that may also do some damage, even though I'm going to be very gentle in the process. Okay. All right. So here is the tripod that's going to be our friend to hold the camera while I'm working. And then we're going to also hop up top here, and I'm going to, well, one more thing. There is the replacement shingle laying over the ridge. It's a 3-tab shingle. It's a fairly close match, but I do want to reiterate that the purpose of this video is not to, we're not looking for a match here. That's a separate factor. We're just trying to determine, is the roof repairable or not? All right, so again, I'm kind of with my hands here. Tricky business. The tools that we're going to be using are a standard roofer's hatchet. It has a magnetic nail hole so I can get nails in. We've got a flat bar, That's kind of an aggressive tool, and sometimes roofers will use that to loosen up the glue strips. And sometimes that does create damage. In this case, I brought a 5-in-1 tool. It's got a very thin blade to it, and it's very delicate. It has a sharp edge so that we can try to very gently get up under the glue and separate the tabs so that we can work on the shingles properly. And then we won't use the old fasteners, but what I've got here, well, there's a cap nail mixed in, but I've got standard roofing nails that'll be going in place. And yeah, with all that in mind, let's get started with this. So I'm gonna grab what I'm gonna actually do right now is put the camera back in the tripod, come back up, get my tools. Not sure what the pitch of this roof is, but it is fairly steep. I think it's probably 10 or 11 pitch. All right, so the camera is still rolling. That's good news. And here we go. So this is the work area right down here, okay? And let's see how this goes. All right. Yes, and the camera is still rolling. The other thing I'll mention right now while we're at it is that the granules on the roof are very loose, and they're very loose, and even though I'm wearing the proper shoes for this type of work, the granules are sliding out from underneath my feet, which makes the roof really difficult to navigate. All right, so this is the damaged shingle. We're gonna work on, well, everything's loose here, okay? Now, I'm gonna start getting rid of the glue strips here, or trying to get up under there. Okay, so problem number one is the glue is very bonded here. Okay, so what I will also say now that I'm looking under here is that adhesive was added to these shingles. I don't feel any down here, but you'll be able to see when it's like a rubbery, gluey type of material. Here it comes. You see that? That was added to try to prevent these shingles from having problems along the way. Okay, here we go. It's really sticky. So it's kind of a rubbery texture, which is abnormal. And it's like a little trampoline or something down up under the, there we go. So here goes another blob of this material. I'm gonna show it to you. You see that? I'm not even sure what that is. It's like a silicone type of material. But now we're loose there. Okay, well, what happened here was we ended up cutting this shingle right here a little bit. That adhesive is definitely unusual. show you what I mean here. Okay, here's another dab of that stuff right there. And they had put it directly on the nail, okay? All right, so now that shingle is loose. This one is fairly loose. We're gonna have to get that one out as well. That one comes a lot easier because we're not dealing with that same adhesive. Wow, that's some strong material. I hope the row 2 is not glued down the same way. Okay, here we go. So row 1 is totally unglued at this point. Here are 2 more of those tabs of glue that I was talking about. So these are all loose. Now we're moving on to row number 2. All right, row 2. Well, they got some of that glue on here as well. This one is actually, it's pulling up material from the shingle below. Now, you probably hear me grunting because I'm trying to apply some pressure to get this stuff out of here, but I'm not, you know, jabbing at the shingles here in a way that you know, would do like brute damage, but the glue is literally so bonded below the shingle or in between the shingles that it's almost all right. Well, there's that. I'm gonna bring the camera down and show what that looks like underneath after when the time is right. Just so you know, this is not normal. Gosh. Doesn't help that we're on a really steep surface trying to do this. Ow. Okay. And we got one more over here to get. My this tool is all up in the way. It's gonna fall. I'm gonna try to see if I can position it somewhere where it won't fall. All right. Okay, it looks like peeling it is actually working out a little bit better. Okay, and now we're all loose there. All right. All right, the very edge shingle over here just has normal, regular roof adhesive from the factory. All right, well, A little bit of blood never hurt anything, did it? All right, now I'm gonna bring the camera down and we're gonna take a look at the condition of the shingles right now based on where we're at with things. Okay, the camera is still rolling. That's good news. So the damaged row, the replacement row, row number 1 and 2, these shingles are now loose. This shingle got a little cut in it from my tool. So here's an example of the glue that's down up under here. This one had one spot of glue right there, but nothing else. This one here had 2 blobs of glue right there. See where when pulling up the glue, it actually lifted out the material from below. Here's what the glue blob looks like from the bottom. Okay. This one here is pretty manged up. Again, the adhesive is pulling up material from the shingle below. 2 blobs of glue there, and here we go. This one actually pulled some of the nail out with it when I was getting it out. So, but the next step now is to, okay, shingle conditions. Here you can see where we now have granule loss in that area where the glue is directly below that spot. So putting any pressure on the glue to try to remove the glue from under here is going to cause some granule loss on the face of the shingle, on the shingle tab. Okay. All right, so next step, let's get these fasteners out. Again, I'm going to try to put the camera back in place without causing it to pause. Okay, we're still rolling. All right, now it's time for our trusty flat bar. All right, that one just pulled right through the, so the shingle pulled right through the nail hole. This one we're able to get the nail out, okay? The other ones are, these ones are still in, but now they're below the surface of the shingle. All right, that one, we got that one. This one here has glue, but there's glue on top of the nail. All right, here we go. And then we've got one more nail over here where that broken tab is. And that one pulled right through as well. All right, so we've got the bottom row of nails out. Now we got to get the top row of nails out. So this one's got a nail, but it's covered by a blob of glue. Not sure I would have glued this down this way, you know. It's probably not the worst thing, but it's... All right, here we go. So, I think that's gonna be it. We should have everything out now for that shingle. Yep, here we go. So, here is the old shingle. We got some blobs. Okay, so goodbye shingle. All right, now let's go about the business of putting the new one in place. Let the fun begin, right? Look at that. Perfect fit. Perfect fit every time. All right, so now all I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and replace the fasteners with new ones. And it's a perfect time now to talk a little bit about some things that Allstate does. Allstate, they don't recognize the brittle test, and I can understand why, because the brittle test, the one that you learn when you're doing your Hague certification, which I am Hague certified, by the way, the brittle test will give you some idea as to whether a shingle is repairable or not. But there's really no better way to do it than to actually go ahead and perform an in-the-field shingle repair and then document what's going on. So my hat is off to Allstate for that, because you guys really want to have the proof in the pudding, and then that holds everybody more accountable to this process. All right, so back to the Hague test. When a person does a Hague test, what they're supposed to do is loosen up the glue down below, and then you lift the shingle about 45 degrees, and then after that you brush it out and you see, did it create any kind of a crease or noticeable granule loss? And if it did, then that would count as a failed brittle test. The problem with the brittle test is that you might lift the shingle at a 45-degree angle and not have any problem, but if a real shingle was being repaired and you have to put the fastener in there, you actually have to lift the shingle up, not 90 degrees, but you have to get it up out of the way so that when you're putting in the nail, it's not going to strike the edge of the shingle. So, so what happens is when you actually go ahead and do a real shingle repair, you are going to put more stress on the upper edge of the shingle, which is then going to indicate whether the shingle is actually repairable or not. So that in mind, we'll go ahead and start with the top row of shingles and get those fasteners in up on row 2. So here we go. There's one. I'm actually going to give it an extra nail because there are some perforations in the shingle. There we go. 1, 2. It's a little bit crooked. 3. We got to get one more out there towards the edge. No, we don't. Yeah, here we go. Okay, now, all right. So I am noticing granules falling out of that crease line there. We're kind of on the run. A little bit of quicksand going on here. Okay, now where are all my fasteners? I had a whole pocket full of them. Feels like they're missing or something. Okay, now darn cap nails are competing for space in my bag. Okay, now we're going to go to row number 1. We're going to put in the fasteners that are most ready for the new shingle, or most the bottom row of nails. Okay. All right, so let's examine our work and see. Wow, this one's never gonna seal back down because these blobs of glue. I'll show you on the camera, but let me get my tools up out of the way here so that they're not dropping down the roof and killing people. All right. Okay, here we go. All right. Camera is still rolling. Fantastic. Yeah, I hate to make these videos so dang long, but it illustrates how long it takes to really do a shingle repair. So here we've got, this is the line, this is the new shingle here. Not a bad match, actually. It's pretty close, you know what I mean? But the real issues are going to display themselves here. So you'll see here on the new shingle, we got a fresh row of adhesive that's there. It's ready for the top shingles to bond down to. That should have happened before, you know, really. So there you can see there, you get the fresh fastener, the new shingle, everything's flexible. There's no problems here. I am not going to add any adhesive here. Just because I'm not. But so if we go on over here to row number 1, we're going to see here that some granule loss taking place in there. Row number 1. If I wipe this, just wiping, so now what I see is a little bit of a crack forming right through here. Okay. It's not wind damage. This is damage from just manipulating the shingles up and down in order to do a repair. This shingle here, this area here does appear to be more pronounced than it was before. The other thing is here where the adhesive was, it was really strong in between these layers here. We've got granule loss and some creasing going on there as well. Same thing here. We have a little bit of a crease line that's formed here along the glue strip. This is probably a little bit more pronounced than it was before. And then this area in here appears to be a little bit, you can see some not wind damage, but some creasing and some granule loss, again, just from manipulation of the shingles. All right, moving on up. This is our little mess right here. This is where this adhesive really screwed things up here, okay? So the nail holes are not very good nail holes because there's a loss of material in the shingle below, okay? And this one here that we had some kind of a crack there. It has now, we've got some separation going on there, or some perforations. We've got definitely granule loss here from resultant of handling the shingle because of the glue. This is the middle shingle that I said in the beginning. We don't really have any damage here. But now there's a clear path of loss of granules that have formed right through here. You see that? Okay. So again, we have a blob. I had to move the nail holes over a little bit because these areas now are like missing material. And this shingle right here, this is row number 2, out towards the edge, just so you notice, out towards the edge of where the new shingle is. This area here is definitely more pronounced than it was before. And all of that is just from lifting the shingle about that much. You got the idea? So at no point did I lift the shingles up in a way that was causing creases intentionally, or even with mishap, but just purely from what needs to happen in order to get the old fasteners out and the new fasteners in. So I hope this video provides a little bit of insight on the condition of this roof. Here's another shingle down here that's not been changed or manipulated or anything like that. Again, it has very strong bond. You want a strong bond, but in order to repair a roof, you've got to be able to get up under that glue in such a way that's not going to do damage to the shingle, the shingle here or the one below it. But in this case, we have a clear situation of the adhesive is adding complexity to what is already a fairly dry and brittle roof. I hope this video helps everybody come to the best decision and settlement for this homeowner. And with that in mind, if you need to reach me, my number is 410-656-9930. I'm available if you have any questions. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.